Next, I want to introduce an important part of our program where we're going to have actual people who are part of a Calling All Artists program present some of their own work. And this is a program led by Lissa Lissa has transitioned into a new role this fall. Her new official title as of September is Manager of Health and Wellness Programs in Ambulatory Neurology. And this position is funded through generous support from a donor, and as a result, Lissa now devotes more of her time to developing clinical services and wellness programs working within the movement disorders program, which we all greatly appreciate. And actually in 2 weeks, she's going to be honored at an award ceremony for reaching the milestone of 40 years of service at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. So this summer, Lissa applied to the Parkinson Foundation for an award which was granted by the Parkinson Foundation for her Calling All Artists program. It's called Calling All Artists, Cultivating Art, Music, and Creativity in the Parkinson's Disease Community of Greater Boston. And you're going to hear about this exciting program more from her in detail in a minute. And the participants, as I mentioned, are here today, which I'm very happy to see. Lissa coordinates many of our wellness programs, including various things like yoga, Tai Chi, PD golf, PD boot camp, and others. And there are handouts actually on the tables with some information and contacts. If anybody's interested who's not taking part of it, we strongly encourage anybody who can to do so. These wellness programs are a very important part of what makes our center a center of excellence. So I'm very happy to have Lissa here today to lead this next section.
Thank you so much. Following Dr. Schlag is a bit daunting, but I know that this portion of our symposium today is something that is just so exciting, and we are just really so thrilled to move from the neuroscience really to the heart and soul, or I guess it would be the art and soul of today. I have to really give a shout out to Rachel, who's talking as I'm talking, because she has been really 24/7 the point person, both for this grant called Calling All Artists, as well as for this portion of today's symposium. So Rachel, I couldn't have done it without you. She even told me on the clicker that I need to point down to get to the next slide. So here we go. So this is a quote that I think captures a lot of the spirit of what we're doing today, and that's: the artist is nothing without the gift, but the gift is nothing without the work. In some ways, we've got the perfect trifecta here today, because we've got the artists, we are going to see their work, and the gift that I think they're going to give is really the gift to inspire all of us by hearing their stories. It's really a day of celebration for me. This marks the 20th anniversary of the symposiums that we had through the Center of Excellence, our movement disorders program, and collaborating with the Jewish Community Center. This is the first time that we've been here for this symposium, though we collaborate with them closely around a lot of our health and wellness programs. And Dr. Simon really chose a bold topic for today's symposium. I went to him sometime in February once this grant that you'll hear about, Calling All Artists, had been launched, and we'd had a couple of meetings. And I don't know if you remember that meeting, David, in your office. I said, so what are you thinking for the fall? He said, oh, I don't really have a topic chosen just yet. I said, I've got an idea for you. And he was curious. I said, I'm not going to tell it to you unless you really promise that you're going to be like open in your thinking, because it's not totally scientifically driven. And he promised me he'd been open. And I showed him some home videos that I had taken of some of the artists presenting their work in our meetings that we had at the hospital. And I think he was convinced from that point forward. So I thank him for moving a little bit in terms of topic, for today's presentation. And the symposium reflects this grant that you'll hear about that we received from the Parkinson's Foundation. It's called Calling All Artists, Cultivating Art, Music, and Creativity in the Parkinson's Disease Community of Greater Boston. It's a very long title, but we got funded for it as of July, and you'll hear a little bit about the purpose of the grant, which is to network artists together. That's really the main thrust of the grant, and we have periodic meetings at the hospital. And the discussion groups focus on the passion, what drives these artists to continue their art as they live with Parkinson's disease. It's to inspire educational events like today. And we are in the process of making a video on the work, and Jay Dobek is to my right. And we're really hoping that by spring, we're going to have a program, a video that really tells the program, tells a story about what it was like to bring these artists together. And we also have the opportunity to offer, well, it's kind of like our own version of GoFundMe. So I've got scholarship money for the artists participating in the program if they need some funding to kind of launch some new area or to take their art to the next level. I feel like I get to be Santa Claus and give away money. It's great fun for me. I like to spend money, and this is a formal opportunity to do that. And also, we're planning a gala event that we are hoping, we're in discussion, will take place at a art gallery in Boston. So it's going to feature some of our artists who are here today, and we are really so excited about that as kind of the culminating piece of this wonderful funding from the Parkinson's Foundation. This is an example of our flyer, Calling All Artists, and it features quilt work from Paula Blumberg, one of our members, who I'll tell you a little bit about in a moment. It's open, and any of you in the audience who are latent artists or active artists, please think about joining us. And how did this idea get launched? Well, I'm just going to give you a little bit of the details because one of our artists who really was the mover and shaker on this will tell you more. But it really reminds me of the from the Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. So that was about an Iowa corn farmer who built a baseball field. Well, we didn't have to go to Iowa. We were able to do this right here. And it was the idea of one woman in our program, and you'll meet her. She'll be talking, who had an idea. She said, I'm a potter, and I'd love to talk to other people who have Parkinson's who are artists. Do you think it would work? So she came to Stacy Lee, and Stacy Lee came to me, and I love new ideas. I said, I don't know if it'll work or not, but let's create a flyer. We'll send it out. And if nobody comes, the three of us, you, me, and Stacy, will talk together that evening. So I said, let's cast a net and see what happens. And in fact, the net got cast and the programs have taken off. And then really adding traction for me to this idea was an NPR story. I don't know if people heard it, but I was driving to work and almost drove off the road when this NPR story featured a man with Parkinson's whose daughter owned a Newbury Street gallery. I don't know if people heard about this or actually went to his show, but his name is Enrique Flores Galvez, and he would have been here today, but he's from New York and couldn't logistically make it work. But his art was featured in a Newbury Street gallery. His daughter convinced her dad to get back to painting. And from the NPR story is the quote, "Gone were the days of the beautiful but muted portraits." So that was his former art. This time, Flores Galvez sought something else when he painted. He wanted to activate happiness in his brain through vivid color and intricate shapes, brings me a little bit to the question that Dr. Schlag had from one of you in the audience about, can one get more creative? So he was saying, when I'm out of the studio, I feel so-so. When I am in the studio, I'm flying high and I'm the best that I am all day. And that's the gift that art has. I hope that feeling translates to the work. Take a look at some of his more recent work. So that's A Tropical Childhood. He grew up in Cuba. His work, if you look him up online, is just, I mean, I think it's beautiful. Primary colors, very vibrant, and then another painting that we selected to show you called Pancho. But back to our own artists and program here. The net was cast, and over the last year, because we started about a year ago, we've had half a dozen meetings. We've welcomed people from all kinds of arts, including painters, musicians, poets, pottery, a composer, songwriters, videographer, photographer, knitter, a professional cook, quilter, and an origami card maker. The meetings include discussions about art, problem solving, strategies for continuing art, networking about events in the community, and bringing people's art in to share at the actual meetings. But at a deeper level, let me tell you what we talk about. We talk about just the joy of art, art as medicine. This is truly what I refer to, and some of you have heard me say this, as beyond the pillbox approaches. It lessens feelings of isolation. Singers worry about changes in their voices related to Parkinson's. So in the group discussions, we talk about the fears, the anxieties that some people have. For people, artists who have tremors, they worry about how this might impact their art. And then we have discussions about, have you talked to your neurologist about how important it is to manage that tremor so that when you're playing the clarinet, you can cover the clarinet holes, or when you're quilting, you can manage the fine stitching that's needed. One artist spoke about her fear of running out of ideas and creativity. I think she got a lot of feedback from the group that this was unlikely to be the case. People talk about the pressure of time. You're living with a chronic illness. How much time am I going to have to continue my poetry, to continue my painting? This is my passion. I'm really worried about that. On the flip side of that, we talk about what keeps you going and what gives you strength. And you can only imagine the rich discussion that that leads to. So I'm going to tell a quick story about Adaptation. This is a quilt made by Paula, who is here. She's the quilter in our group. In a spring meeting, spring and early summer meeting, she shared with the group that she was giving up her quilting. And if you saw on the earlier flyer, her quilting to me could hang in any museum. It is the most beautiful, the most beautiful quilts. And she said, no, I think I'm stopping because I'm losing the ability to line things up perfectly. I don't think that I can handle that stitching anymore. The fine motor coordination is not what it was. And in the group, there was a lot of discussion about, did she really need to give it up? Or could she do some adapting? And one of the group members said, adaptation is key. So we left that group meeting, and over the summer, our quilter friend, Paula, said, I don't know, I think I'm going to try to take the spirit of this meeting with me, and I'll see what the summer brings. Well, you can imagine my delight when I got an email from Paula saying, I'm back to quilting, and I am thrilled. She brought this quilt into our last meeting about a week or so ago, and it is an adaptation of her other quilts because she decided she would use center panels, those larger panels, and then she's doing all of the fine stitching around it. So she is a perfectionist. This allows her to continue to feel like her quilts measure up to the standard that she insists on. And she returned to the meeting that we had 2 weeks ago, and we were verklempt. We were so excited that she was back to her quilting. So our featured speakers today we'll start with Cindy Mason, she was really the rainmaker. She's the person that came with the idea to Stacy Lee about starting this, and she's an accomplished potter. Her work is up here. Stacy Lee will speak next, and she is an appreciator of the arts, and she's also a person who has supported all of the Wellness Works programs that bring so many activities to our Center of Excellence. Marilyn Nault is a songwriter, and you'll hear her wonderful story. Karen Sauer is a songwriter and performer, and she's actually going to be performing. And then Natasha Rabin is the artist and now a poet. And it's her painting that is helping to raise funds for the center, and you'll hear about her artistry and what art means to her. So bravo to all of the artists who are here today. I know that for them, they said, I'm an artist, I don't do PowerPoints, I'm not used to public speaking. I said, tell your story. That's all we need to hear. And an additional thanks to everybody who's been participating in the grant program. And look for details that we'll be sending out to you about our spring gala, and hoping that today leaves you feeling to live inspired. So with that, Cindy, you're on.
Thanks for the intro, Lissa. Hello. Thank you. Can you hear me now? Is that good? So I'm a potter. I work with clay to make dishes, bowls, plates, and platters. I make these functional pieces, mostly so their surfaces can be a background for decorating. That's what I love to do. But I'll get back to that in a couple of minutes. First, I'm going to tell you the history of Wellness Works from where I come from my point of view. 10 years ago, after I was diagnosed, I discovered Wellness Works and began taking classes, and I still do. Stacy Lee, the founder of Wellness Works, asked me if I would be on a panel discussion about exercise and its effects on Parkinson's. Not being comfortable to talking to more than one person at a time, whoa, yikes, I declined. I must have looked conflicted and guilty because Stacy then very kindly told me not to worry and that I'd probably find some other way to help this community. So for 7 years, those words rattled around in my brain. How could I give back? I wanted to help the wellness community that was growing around me, but I still didn't have an idea. For me, forming a group didn't seem like an option. I'm an introvert. I often avoid people. I'm a ceramic artist. I wanted my contribution to be through art. Many times I Googled art and Parkinson's. I found nothing. I bugged my husband. No help there. I thought about the work I create, share, give away, and sell. That's what I do. I create and I share. Maybe there was an idea there. So one evening, I told Stacy about this idea. Somehow, we would gather artists together who have PD. In my fantasy, we'd share our work, have a gallery and a show, and make lots of money for wellness works. It's okay to dream. So Stacy and Lissa were interested. We had a conference call. Lissa wisely pointed out that we needed to find other artists and learn what they were interested in. So flyers and invitations went out to the community. Artists came and are still coming. At some point, I wanted to step back. Calling All Artists is up and running. Artists are coming and are still artists came and they're still coming. And it was time, and Stacy's, and we're here. We're here for ourselves, and we're here for each other. And I have the added benefit that Stacy's words are no longer rattling around in my brain. And I'm going to switch gears now and tell you more about myself and my relation to art. Ten years ago, Dr. Tarsi told me I had Parkinson's. I remember nothing from that meeting except walking out the door. I don't remember the ride home with my husband, nor do I remember anything we might have said to each other. I do know I went to my pottery studio. That's where my memory began again. I remember the light in the room and the way it fell on the table I was sitting at. I remember the piece I was working on and the feel of the clay in my hands. But from that afternoon on, I think of Parkinson's as little as possible. Before PD, I made most of my bowls, plates, and platters using a potter's wheel and decorating them using a technique called sgraffito carving. I am now going to show you two slides. The first is a wheel-thrown bowl decorated with sgraffito technique. The next is me at my wheel working on what is called throwing. So that's the bowl with sgraffito technique. And that's me at my wheel. The first step in throwing clay, that's what I'm doing here. I have to use my arms, my shoulders, and back together to make centering happen. The wheel has to be spinning. This is an electric wheel, so at least I'm not at the same time trying to power the wheel with my leg. But I do have to use my foot and leg to coordinate the speed and the wheel turning. After I was diagnosed, centering gradually became difficult. I mean this literally and metaphorically. I was losing my center. I couldn't handle as much clay. The right side of my body was getting weaker, and I was having trouble coordinating right-sided movements. There was no panic or aha moment. I needed to adapt. I gradually changed my emphasis from throwing on the wheel to a new technique of rolling out slabs of clay and then using molds to make platters and plates. There's me rolling. I don't have to have equal pressure in my arms to do that. Using the clay lends itself to open forms. These were different than what I had been throwing. I was excited. They were like big open canvases waiting for decoration. And I learned a new decorating technique called relief carving. There's an example of relief carving. That's a close-up. I love making these pieces. I love using this new technique. It takes concentration, attention to detail, it's very relaxing, and it's meditative. I found my center again. I don't think I would have learned this new technique if I didn't have Parkinson's. This is one more change that's happened and is still happening. After starting Cinemet and doing all kinds of exercise, my right arm and my right shoulder are getting stronger. I'm starting to throw bigger bowls again. So that's my story so far. I was, and I still am, a potter. I happen to have Parkinson's disease. Thanks.
Good morning. I am on this panel, not as an artist exactly, but as an individual for whom art, be it painting, film, sculpture, dance, architecture, has always played a central role in my life. When first symptomatic with PD 11 plus years ago, I had an unusual onset. It was very acute, following a 3-month battle with a virus. I literally could not stand for more than a minute, and walking was very difficult. Back then, at night, eyes wide open because I could not sleep, I would review all the things I could not do and might never do again. I don't recommend this activity, but we are who we are. I was bereft at the thought I might never again be able to walk on my own 2 feet through a museum or perhaps go to a play or a concert. One might say, so what? There are lots of other ways to view art, but for me, it was a huge anticipated loss. I grew up in England and Europe. My parents were filmmakers and art collectors. From my earliest childhood, museums were places to go to seek inspiration, peace, beauty, possibility. All through my adult life living in Boston, when I needed a place to gather myself together, I would head off to the Museum of Fine Arts, the Institute of Contemporary Art, or the de Cordova. It was my way of coping, and the means by which I could enlarge my perspective and feel hopeful and connected to others. Fortunately, the miracle of Cinemet and movement, so far, has enabled me to walk and stand, and even play tennis. I am fully aware that there may come a time when I have to find my way to art differently, but I will figure that out. Most importantly, my message is to honor what matters to you. Don't just write off an activity immediately as yet another loss, as you've heard from Cindy. Adaptation. Look for opportunity. Just as artists in our little group have found ways to adapt and keep producing art, you too will find a way in a community that supports you. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Marilyn, and I'm here to tell you how an amateur got lucky with music. Is Dr. Schlag still here? Oh, he sang my song, he told my story, and I can't, I'm going to have to tell it to him again because he gave scientific validation to what I have experienced. The other artists speaking today are professionals. I am not. My career was as a pediatric audiologist. I directed the audiology programs at Boston Children's Hospital for many years. Retirement was something that I dreaded. But I got lucky just before retirement. I discovered quite accidentally that I can compose piano music. At least to me, it's music. It has melody and harmony. I either find it by noodling around with the notes and accidentally discovering a lovely combination, or waking up with a melody in my head, complete with harmonies, and getting to the piano and finding it. As soon as I retired, I joined the Treble Clefs chorus and the Parkinson's dance group at the JF&CS in Waltham. And I want to tell you how this accident happened. As background, I have no particular talent for visual arts. I can't draw or sculpt for beans. Of course, I haven't tried it, so I could make another accidental discovery. I do enjoy fooling with PowerPoint animations and things like that. I took 3 or 4 years of piano lessons as a child, but I learned little to no music theory, and I could read only simple sheet music, learned element by element painfully. I did have a book as a child called The Great Composers. It was probably about middle school level, and each chapter was fictionalized history of a composer. And I loved that book. I think my mother took it to a book sale while I was away at college, and I came home and it wasn't in my bookshelf anymore. But I used to dream of being able to make up a melody, but never had any success getting past the first few notes. I kept a piano in my house, much as some people insist on having a fireplace that gives them warmth, even without a fire. The piano always did that for me, but I had not played it for literally decades. And along came this little one, my granddaughter. Now, I suppose all babies love music and rock to music, but she in particular lights up to music and notices changes in the beat. I gave her the little musical turtle toy that some of you will recognize who are grandparents.
Do you like your new toy that Meme sent you? Yeah? Say, I love you, Meme. You can press some buttons to make the music go again.
So when I tried to pick out a nursery tune for her on our piano that I hadn't touched for so long, the piano wouldn't let me go. There was something about the feel of the keys and the sound of the notes that was magnetic for me. And I started noodling around, and the first thing I composed was a schmaltzy little waltz that ended up being called the sock waltz because she likes to pull her socks off to it. So I would record something and send it off to my daughter in Albuquerque as an email attachment. She would video Samantha listening to it and send it back to me because she knew it made me feel good. So the sock waltz had a part that she liked. So I kept on making up little tunes. I have no idea what key I'm playing in. I can figure it out if I try, and I can figure out the meter if I try. I don't know the names of the chords. But if the gift is nothing without the work, maybe I should not accept bass line and push myself a bit more. The next thing I made up was a little ragtime piece. I've always liked ragtime. And this is great hiking music. I have it in my phone recorded at slow and moderate tempos. And when we went on a hiking vacation to the national parks in Utah, I used it to keep my legs moving, and I would use the slower tempo when I got tired. It also makes a great accompaniment for an animated puzzle, so. This is one PowerPoint slide with 116 animations. And I tell my neurologist that I don't have any obsessive compulsive results from my pramipexole. Now, playing the piano with a tremor is not always easy. When I first wake up in the morning, before I've taken any pills, it looks like this. That same day, half an hour to 40 minutes later, after the pills started to kick in, now, I do have some limitations. I play at a rather irregular tempo, which I really notice if I try and play to a metronome. I make lots of mistakes. I can only manage simple arrangements. My foot plops off the pedal quite frequently. I'm better off not using it at all. And one time I was writhing around so badly with dyskinesia, I broke our piano bench. The bottom fell right out of it. But my husband has fixed it. I spent part of this summer at Spaulding Rehab after managing to crack my spine. And music played an enormous part in my rehabilitation. Music therapy was even included in my therapy program, and I was even given a list of recorded songs that I could find that were just a tiny bit faster than my gait to stimulate me to do better. And to this day, when I'm in physical therapy, I have to listen to music. I do best when it's music that I created myself. I like to exercise to my own music. But another good one, I would highly recommend Uptown Funk, because if you access it on YouTube, it goes on for over 5 minutes, which most songs don't. So you don't have to restart it or make it loop so much. So while I was at Spaulding, I happened to have the only patient room that was right next to a lounge that had a little piano in it. And I rounded up a group, and we sang a song that I wrote called Sing It Up. Here's just a couple lines from it. My fellow treble cleffers who are here, I've added a couple things since the last time we sang it in treble clefs. The piano had, it was a digital piano, and it had the capability to sound like different instruments. And I had written something that I've always wanted to hear played by a cello. And there was a button on this piano that said strings. So I pushed that button and played. Now, I was so happy to be vertical again that when I got home, I tried a little boogie-woogie. And that little medallion thing over there next to me standing in the walker is from my husband's aunt, who sent St. St. Jude, patron saint of hopeless cases, pray for us. Something worked. I can't play that without my pills. So takeaways. Playing the piano every day makes me feel good. I notice it if I haven't. And if we're away, I worry about being away from the piano. I walk and exercise best when listening to music, especially my own music. Also, when I was recovering, listening to music helped with pain management more than gabapentin or anything else. Communicating with other art enthusiasts really helps me. I was at least temporarily relieved of my guilt at not being committed to learning the names of all the chords, although now after that Emile Zola quote, listen, I'll reconsider. And in the treble clefs, I met a gentleman named Greg Rice. He's not here, is he? No. Who had a similar accidental discovery that he can compose piano music years before I did, but took it to symphonic levels, an aspiration far beyond mine, and he's been most helpful. So I'm not sure why I can make music now, but I am most certainly grateful. Now I'm going to play one little 3-minute, 30-second piece, if you can cross your legs that long, in its entirety. And it's something I wrote when I was just a couple of months into this experience, and it was when I was retiring. And it's a lyric video, and people wonder why I don't have somebody singing it. You just read the words along with the music. But if someone were singing it, it would sound as though it was their experience, and I want it to be your experience. I want you to react to the experience of finding out you have Parkinson's and adapting to it and having resilience as you listen to the song.
Gather round, people. Come runnin'. Admit that a cataclysm is comin'. Ain't no shelter from the superstorm. Don't say you ain't been warned. Glaciers melt, waters rise. Building on stilts won't keep you dry. No lifeguard gonna hear your cries. If you can't afford a boat, better learn to float. Now, don't go whining about pollution. That's a problem with a simple solution. Don't you think you ought to drink bottled water? Why stop there? Breathe bottled air. Come, mothers and fathers, make a stand. Don't take the word of that businessman. You think he cares about our kids? For Earth's sake, listen to the scientists. Our Goldilocks planet, pillaged for profit when it's all used up. No way off it. Too much carbon in the air, weather gets weird. Too cold there, too hot here. Crops fail, know what I mean? Got a good recipe for Soylent Green? Here too dry, there too wet. Shrinking habitat. Species teetering on the brink. Who's the next to go extinct? Maybe us? Hey, that ain't cool. I don't want to end up as fossil fuel. Come, mothers and fathers, make a stand. Don't take the word of that charlatan. You think he cares about our kids? For Earth's sake, listen to the scientists. Our Goldilocks planet, pillaged for profit when it's all used up. No way off it. A lucky few might leave in a rocket. But hey, deregulation works for me. Smog is a sign of prosperity. Inhale that fresh particulate matter. Forget that old ecology data. Solar, windmills, that's for losers. Anyway, beggars can't be choosers. And we will be begging, make no mistake. For the climate, it's a changin'. Thank you. And thank you, Lissa, for inviting me, wherever you are, there, to share my music. And Rachel, thank you for getting this all together. 11 years ago, I was working as a classical musician, a pianist accompanist, what we call a collaborative pianist. For some years, I had been having trouble with my left hand. It couldn't keep up with my right hand. Naturally, I thought I needed to practice more, but practicing didn't seem to help. The PD diagnosis was a big surprise. I continued to work as a pianist for a few years, but eventually my playing got so unreliable that it was no longer fun to perform, so I retired. A friend said, "Let's take a free online songwriting course." I had always loved accompanying songs because I love words. For the songwriting course, we had to do our homework in GarageBand, which is a music writing and arranging app. And I was worried about whether I could learn to use it, but once I did, I felt incredibly cool and tried to work the words GarageBand into conversations whenever possible, as I just did. And I started writing songs. When our country had a change of leadership in 2016, suddenly there was a lot to write about. I had never thought that I would sing in public, but I soon realized that if anyone was going to hear my songs, I would have to sing them myself. So a couple of years ago, I crept into an open mic to see what that was all about. And the next week, I went back and sang one of my songs. Now, open mics are incredibly supportive environments, and actually, the worse you are, usually the louder they clap. So the applause was deafening, let's put it that way. My onstage relationship used to be with my musical partner. Now it's with the audience. I never knew how fun it is to stand and sing and look at people getting it. So I loved my career in classical music, but what I do now is so fulfilling. This creative outlet is powerful medicine for me. The Calling All Artists group provides a wonderful opportunity to connect and exchange ideas with other artists. It's also a support group, and that means that the support is there when we need it and ours to give when we can. It's medicine without a prescription. I must also mention one other powerful form of medicine, exercise. The importance of exercise cannot be overstated. The very first time I met my neurologist, she told me that exercise is a crucial component in managing PD. As Marilyn said, when you play music, you don't go note to note or even measure to measure. Music is in phrases, and for that matter, so is speech. And I have found it helpful to exercise in phrases. Please, my friends, keep moving. In summary, PD led me to learn new skills, as Cindy talked about, and try new ways of making music. I'm stronger than I was before I was diagnosed and started exercising. In groups such as Calling All Artists, exercise classes, and of course at open mics, I've made many new friends, and here you are. Social interaction is great medicine. I have one more song today. It's a call to civic action, and it involves you. It's a sing-along. I hope you'll join me on the chorus of Don't Forget to Vote, and I'm going to teach you the chorus. So the melody is not difficult. La, 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 la. Oh, oops. Ah, okay. And the words are vote, vote, come on and vote. Get on the rolls, go to the polls, don't forget to vote. Vote, vote, come on and vote. Get on the rolls, go to the polls, don't forget to vote. Yeah, thanks. Do you like how things are going, or do you wonder what's going on? Get on the rolls, go to the polls, don't forget to vote. Vote, vote, come on and vote. Get on the rolls, go to the polls, don't forget to vote.
Should you vote?
If your leader is a fellow that you don't care to follow, second-rate head of state, don't forget to vote. Vote, vote, come on and vote. Get on the rolls, go to the polls, don't forget to vote.
Why should you vote?
Be sure your representatives are representing you. Make them hear you loud and clear, don't forget to vote. Vote, vote, come on and vote. Get on the rolls, go to the polls, don't forget to vote.
Come and vote.
Dream a world you'd like to live in. Wake up and make it happen. Open your eyes and exercise your right to vote. Vote, vote, come on and vote. Get on the rolls, go to the polls, don't forget to vote. So whether you like how things are going or you wonder what's going on, don't lose hope, rock the boat, don't forget to vote. Vote, vote, come on and vote. Get on the rolls, go to the polls, don't forget to vote. You can walk, wheel, or drive, call if you need a ride, but don't forget to vote. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Natasha Rabin, and I'm here to share who I am as an artist, how my art is affected by PD, and how my understanding of Parkinson's is affected by my art. As for the beginning, it all started in this shop where I bought my first set of watercolors, which were made by a secret formula, and I just continued painting for the first time in 26 years. When I got back to New York, I landed at the Art Students League. This was one of my first paintings, entitled Groucho to the Rescue. And the commonality between this painting and the other works that I'll share with you was the growing passion I felt whenever I had a brush in my hand. I next studied in Italy in a studio sometimes inhabited by bats. This is my tribute to a Titian at which I painted upside down. While I continued to find my voice as an artist, I created portraits of artists I admired. Here are my favorite Frida and Georgia O'Keeffe. I painted many of the women who inspired me, among them Julia Child, Golda Meir, and Toni Morrison. And yes, I do paint men as well. I eventually had the privilege of bringing that passion to portrait commissions as well, to capture somebody's essence, hopefully, with my brush. But my ardor was not reserved for portraits. I became impassioned by symbols and what words represented them in different languages. I fell in love with the medium of collage and its ability to tell stories. And always there were my portraits of flowers in every medium. Then in 2012, I went to see the movie A Late Quartet, and suddenly there was the possible explanation for my recently shrinking handwriting. As life with PD evolved over the past 6 years, the symptoms that have come to affect my creative spirit the most is apathy. It's hard just walking into the studio sometimes, but during the recent hiatus from my easel, an old muse showed up, the perfect muse to help me express this unpredictable journey. I'd like to share from a work in progress that has wended its way through my creative apathy. I never wrote a haiku before the poems I'm about to share with you. The only thing I knew about haiku was the most prevalent form was 3 lines of 5, 7, and 5 syllables. I checked experts to get any rules to guide me, but it quickly became clear to me that this form, what drew me to this form was that I had a disease that knows no rules. Each poem is 17 syllables, a single breath. Haikus traditionally have no titles. Mine do, thus haiku-ish. I will pause after each poem to allow us all to take a breath. I was diagnosed with Christopher Walken. In movie darkness, I saw the light and took note, praying I was wrong. PD squared. With diagnosis come dark omens and a gift, courage blossoming. Taken for granted, easy to ignore the grace of my swinging arms, perfect arcs vanished. No autographs, please. They tell me to print. I make my perfect letters, signature long gone. Getting up. Deep, old, soft sofa. I've risen from you with ease. Now I need a plan. Retropulsion. Slow seems permanent till feet speed faster than brain, and backwards no less. Slow is beautiful. So what if it takes too many minutes or hours? Doing, not done, rules. Apathy. Not for lack of time, canvas still remains empty. My muse waits and waits. Human feats of balance. I watch acrobats in awe of their high wire acts. My feet to stand straight. Dr. P's disease. There are no two who experience it the same, like a work of art. Like a Work of Art is the title of this collection of poems about living with and learning from Parkinson's disease. If I can live my life with Parkinson's like a work of art, then the book will be filled with paintings as well. And I want to thank everybody, and especially Rachel, for all your help with the presentation, Lissa and David, but mostly I want to thank my sweetheart, Ken, for being with me every step of this journey. Thank you. Thank you.